All right, so we have one more thing to do before we can actually start doing the louver system and the sunshade system that I was talking about. That is actually creating thickness, right? So you guys have seen this before, and I'm going to keep it pretty short. But essentially, each of these frames is a separate surface. They happen to have groups of 6, and that's just because they came off of originally a subdivided surface in the set of 6. We can change that if we need to, but theoretically we don't, because as long as the information keeps passing through in groups of 6, it'll still operate. So I tend to leave things grafted into the natural groups that they are until I have to change it for some specific reason. So don't get afraid if you see this. If you know what it means, you might get afraid, but don't be. So we just need to go to Surface, Utility, Offset. You guys have seen this before, so it's nothing new. We're going to plug in that value here, the R value, and then we just give it a certain magnitude. Okay, so the magnitude, since we're working in feet, I'm probably just going to say -1 foot to +1 foot, but I'm going to keep it pretty small because this is just going to be the Mullions system. It's just something that's supposed to be very low profile, pretty close to the glass, but enough detail that if I look at it, I can tell it's not just something on the glass. Okay, so -1.00 to 1. Plug that in here. And it looks like, you got to look pretty closely to see which direction it's going. It looks like negative is going inside my building, and if I move it out, positive is going to go outside my building. So something below a 0.5 I think is going to be appropriate. It should be very subtle. Very subtle. Like, notice the difference between the original one here and the new one there is very small. -1 to 1. Now, at this stage, you know that I have my original surface and I have my new surface. I just need to deconstruct them and then find their edges, lofty edges, and then join it all together. Right? You guys remember that? More or less? I take your silence as a resounding yes. So I'm going to go to Surface, Deconstruct BREP. Whoops. Just like this. So we're going to have 2 deconstructs. You guys remember? Okay. Then you're going to want to use ruled surface. And you're going to go from one edge set to another edge set. And that might take a little bit to compute, depending on how many subdivisions you have. Yep, then you're going to do a boundary volume. That was, yeah, good call, man. I just forget where it is. This is one of those ones I have to find every time.
I just typed it in.
There it is. All right, so under Intersect and Shape, boundary volume. Now, remember that this is going to take the original surface, it's going to take the new surface, and it's going to take all of the edge surfaces that you just created. And it's going to bind them all into one volume. So I'll just plug in this here, this there, and this here. Oh, why is it giving me the error? Data conversion failed from curve to be, oh, sorry, surfaces, my bad. Take your faces, plug that in. Then that, and then your faces from down here, plug that. Oh, darn. Sorry. I let go of shift. Yeah. All right, so that created my frame. Yeah, well, I don't know. It's pretty simple so far, but we'll get to the cool stuff in a moment. So if you really care about being able to see this thing and really understanding more of what's happening, feel free to drop a mesh on it. I think now is probably the time where we're getting to enough complexity that if we wanted to put a mesh on this thing, it might help. So I'm going to do that for this system. Mesh, primitive, mesh colors. And then params, input, and color swatch. So this can turn off, and there you have your system. If you want to see the curves on there, it was, I forget actually where that was. Was it under display? It was like wire something. There's a new tool that I found somewhat recently. Oh, beer up wireframe. Let's do that. There you go. So that shows you the curves for a set of B-reps. It's easier than doing deconstruct and then plugging in the curve thing. It pretty much does the same thing though. But anyway, so here's our frame, and you can see the curves on it, and now we're good to go with our extra system. Yeah, of course. Is that enough?